Good morning, respected ones. In this video, we are going to make a glance at the educational philosophy of Gandhiji. And we'll be giving more focus on the contributions of Mahatma Gandhi to modern child-centered education. You may be wondered, hearing to this title, Contributions of Gandhiji to Modern Child-Centered Education. As you might have heard that Gandhiji is a representative of traditional India and traditional values. Then how can he become a contributor to modern child-centered education? Let's try to answer this question. So I'm inviting all of you to come with me to answer this question. In 1937, Mahatma Gandhi published a series of articles in a weekly called Harijan. Through these articles, he was trying to convey his educational ideas. In one of his articles, he just wrote, "By education, I mean an all-round drawing out of the best in man and child, body, mind, and spirit." And this definition is so popular nowadays. Whenever we are being asked to give some definitions for education, this definition, along with the definition given by Swami Vivekananda and some other educationists, comes to our mind. By education, I mean an all-round drawing out of the best in man and child, body, mind, and spirit. Just look at the definition itself. You can see that it's a combination of antiquity and modernity. Because he just tells about spirituality in that is a part of antiquity, and he tells about drawing out of the best in man and child. That's something which we can see in the modern educational system. And just look at the definition. What does he mean? Education is drawing out of the best in man and child. So it is not only imparting knowledge. It's not mere imparting knowledge by the teacher, but it's drawing out of the best in man and child. So it means that the best is there in the person. And the duty of teacher is to find out that best in the person and to help him to develop these innate abilities. And look at man and child. He did not use child, but he used man and child. And by using this, he meant that education was a lifelong process. It never ends. Then body, mind, and spirit. That is all-round development. Physical development, mental development, spiritual development. All these domains come under the term of education according to Mahatma Gandhi. So, this is his definition, and we have to keep this definition in our mind throughout this discussion, because on the basis of this definition you can look at the educational ideas put forth by Mahatma Gandhi. First of all, we can look at the aims of education put forth by Mahatma Gandhi. His aims of education can be divided into two categories: ultimate aim of education and immediate aim of education, or proximate aim of education, or temporary aim of education. Mahatma Gandhi was a strong promoter of traditional Indian concepts. So, according to Mahatma Gandhi, the most important aim of education, or the ultimate aim of education, is to make a person capable of a reach moksha, that is self-realization, or to make a person gain a spiritual satisfaction, to reach the stage of spiritual completeness, the stage of a spiritual enlightenment. So this is the most important aim of education, or the ultimate aim of education according to Mahatma Gandhi. And he believed that for reaching moksha, students should be given practices in following the great Indian traditional values such as honesty, non-violence, tolerance, and simplicity. And when we look at the immediate aims of education, we will see that he is just like a pragmatist, a modernist. In the case of ultimate aim of education, you can see that he was an idealist or a traditionalist. But in the case of his immediate aims of education, he seems to be a pragmatist or a modernist. The immediate aims of education according to Gandhiji is to enable an individual to be self-sufficient in his life. So providing self-sufficiency for the child. He should not be reliant on others. He should be able to stand on his own feet by the time he completes education. Another aim of education according to Gandhiji is something related to the traditional concept, character development. Not personality development, but character development. Character is inside and outside. You should make your students able to live a pure life, a righteous life, an innocent life, a faultless life, a crimeless life in his secret as well as public activities or public life, in his secret life or private life and public life. But personality is something peripheral, the external look, the external appearance, the external behavioral patterns. And all the traditional thinkers always feel that not the personality development but the character development is one of the aims of education. And another aim of education according to Gandhiji is to make a person able to express his views openly without any fear and hesitation. Because then only you can bring the best in man and child. He told that education is the process of drawing out of the best in man and child. How can you draw out the best in man and child just by making them express their views, making them perform their talents. For that, you should make them capable of communicating their views, their ideas, their thoughts, their attitudes, their concepts, their visions, their views, their desires, their hopes and expectations. So, this is another immediate aim of education according to Gandhiji. Another aim of education according to Gandhiji is cultural conservation or preservation through transmission of culture from older generation to new generation. So these are some immediate aims of education according to Gandhiji. Now we can look at some exclusive and innovative concepts put forth by Mahatma Gandhi during 1940s. The first one is basic education, the concept of basic education. In 1937, Mahatma Gandhi told in one of his articles that free and compulsory education should be provided to all the children between 7 and 14 years. He believed that you cannot develop your country by having lots of people or the majority of people as uneducated in your country. If you want to get your country developed in all the senses, you should give education to almost all the people in your country. So he advocated that each and every child between 7 and 14 years should be given free and compulsory education. And he also added that when you give elementary education to the children between 7 and 14, you should ensure that they would be able to stand on their own feet by the time they complete elementary education. So you should make them able to stand on their feet. They should be self-reliant. So during the time of this elementary education, you should provide all the basic skills which can make them self-reliant or self-sufficient in their day-to-day social life. There should be some people who have got the capacity to earn themselves. There should be some people who have got self-confidence, their own ideas, their own concepts, their own outlook, and their own ideologies towards life. So they should get all the basics of social life. They should never they should never be reliant on others. See, even after getting some education for 8 years, if you're still approaching your parents for getting some financial support or for making some decisions, according to Gandhiji, the education given to you is useless, absurd. So each and every child between 7 and 14 years should be given education in a manner that But by the time of the completion of a level of education, all the children should be able to stand on their feet. The second concept put forth by Mahatma Gandhi, that is craft centered education, is something related to this basic education. According to Gandhiji, when you are giving education to your children, you not only give education, theoretical education, but also you have to give some work education along with the theoretical or the formal or the traditional formal education. Because he has told that, you have to make the students self-reliant by the time they complete the basic education, the elementary education. If you have to make them reliant on their feet, you have to make them self-sufficient, you have to make them efficient to lead their own life without relying on others, you should give them some practice, you should give them some training in some works. So he thought that some works related to the locality, some works or some crafts belong to the particular locality should be included in the syllabus. And here he also tells that such crafts should be related to the locality, because by including the works or crafts related to a particular locality, you can preserve or conserve the culture of that particular society through the transmission of culture from older generation to new generation. So he recommended the works such as weaving, pot making, embroidery, etc., as the works to be incorporated with the theoretical or the traditional formal education. He not only told, or his craft-centered education was not mere giving training in crafts, but also he advocated that all the topics should be taught by using the local crafts. For example, in mathematics, you may have to teach circles. When you teach circles, you can just show the pot, because pot making was some works related to some communities. You can just show the opening of the pot to teach circle. So his intention by recommending craft-centered education was out of two purposes, or for two purposes. First one, making the students self-reliant, and the second one, preservation or conservation of culture through transmission of culture from one generation to another generation. Another most important educational concept put forth by Mahatma Gandhi is his argument that the medium of instruction should be mother tongue. Because again we can go back to his definition. By education I mean an all-round drawing out of the best in man and child, body, mind and spirit. How can you find out the best in man and child? You have to make them speak openly. You have to interact with them. You have to give them opportunities to express their views. to tell about their concepts, to put forth their ideologies and feelings. For that, you have to make them use mother tongue. He told that if you teach English language from the very beginning of the school days, the children will not be able to speak either in their mother tongue or in the English language. So just use mother tongue as the medium of instruction, so that to make them show their talents, show their concept, show their innate abilities. So he was a great promoter of mother tongue in the field of education as medium of instruction. So these are the major concepts of Mahatma Gandhi. And see, when we look at his concepts, we can see that in the case of values, he was a real idealist. And the case of methods and immediate aims of education, Mahatma Gandhi was a naturalist as well as pragmatist. He told that you should make the children express their views, and this is a part of child-centered education. According to naturalism, everything should not be taught by the teachers. Child should be the center, and child should be allowed to openly tell about their feelings. They should be given freedom to express their views. And Mahatma Gandhi also told that you have to make use of mother tongue because you have to find out their innate abilities. You have to find out the best in them. So just make them express their views. Just make them show their caliber. Just make them show their talents. And this is a part of modern child-centered education. And if you look at his immediate aims of education, you can see that he was a pragmatist according to Mahatma Gandhi. You should follow utility-based education. By the time the children complete their education, they should be able to stand on their feet. They should get a job. And craft-centered education is something like learning by doing, and this learning by doing is a concept put forth by modern schools of philosophies such as naturalism and pragmatism. It's a part of child-centered education. So when we look at him, we can see the combination of traditional as well as modern education. Thank you very much.